Hi, I'm Bob Hatcher, Executive Director of Prime Plus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob. And today we're going to talk about kids and healthcare and kids and kind of how our current world is having an impact on a fantastic organization, CHKD, but more importantly, King's Daughters. And I got a friend, man, we've known each other for a long time. I'd like to say we played the playpen together, and we did kind of. Lisa Coleman. Your official title is what?
I'm the executive director of the King's Daughters.
And you've been doing that for a few years now.
I have. This is actually my 18th year.
Holy moly. Okay, explain it to me. CHKD is the hospital that King's Daughters support.
Correct. And the King's Daughters actually founded, which means they were helping families in the community way before the hospital was even built. And then the King's Daughters, fundraised to build CHKD in the early 60s.
Now, that's kind of backwards from the way it normally happens, because you have a hospital and they have an auxiliary, and the hospital tells the auxiliary what to do.
Right.
And they go out and do it.
Right. Well, we're separate organizations. So we came about first. We are a 501c3. And so we then helped fundraise to build the hospital. But then after a little bit of time went by, we realized that we were not equipped to be able to run a facility as big and important as this medically. So we now have a children's health system, which has their own board, and CHKD are their own 501c3. So we're two separate entities, but we only support CHKD.
Super. Okay. And long before it was the way to do it, where you build relationships and those relationships then use their relationships to raise money. You guys were doing that. I mean, how did it all start?
It starts with the friends part of our elevator speech, which is to raise funds, friends, and awareness for CHKD. So if you don't have the friends, you can't raise the funds. So the friends that we started with were all the members of our organization, of which we have about 950 members in approximately 45 what we call circles, whom anybody can be a part of. And so that's how our friends started. But then we realized we needed more help from our community. So we tried as best we could to garner new relationships, ignite old relationships, and bring all of that together to help both us and the entities that these new friends were coming from. And it's worked very well for us.
Yeah, and that group of primarily women, right?
Primarily, but again, it is open to anyone that has the passion and some time to give to help us.
Yeah, but I have this, because I know a lot of the people who are in circles, and I can just envision you walk past a house that a circle meeting is happening, you can hear the energy and the vibration. All about that face-to-face. March 12th, the world changed. And there weren't those gatherings in someone's living room. Right. So what impact did that have on you all?
Huge impact, especially since March is kind of one of our high season months for events.
Yeah, that was about the time you would have me in meetings to convince me that I could run.
You did one time, didn't you? When we had our run in June.
Excuse me, I think I did it 2 years in a row. The first
you made some excuses about leaving town a lot, though, I remember.
Yeah, I did.
So March, we usually have, a few events each Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And all of our circles had to cease everything that they were doing at that point because we weren't sure what was going to happen next, whether we were able to get together or not. And then, of course, it came clear that we could not get together. Typically, we have about 90 circle events per year, and many of those happen between March and July. So,
now, yeah, that was about the time at Prime Plus we were getting, you got to close. And it was like we had a grand total of maybe 4 days just to lick our wounds and say, okay, now what? And so we've really kind of reinvented ourselves with virtual. I'm starting to do these kind of shows to get content out. So did you guys have the same kind of moment to say, okay, now what?
We did. We adapted to Zoom very quickly. We use WebEx within our organization, but we adapted to both of those very quickly, and we had to, again, reinvent ourselves. You know, there was no coming into the hospital with the items that we usually make for patients. There was no coming to the hospital with the books and magazines that the families need while they're waiting for children to have procedures and visits. There were no monthly meetings of the circles to determine what was going to happen with their events next. And there were no meetings for us within the community to help plan our major projects, which usually fall on our, as you know, our run walk, and then our breakfast with Santa and our moonlight and mistletoe. So yes, we came to a screeching halt, but yes, we started to reinvent ourselves and be more creative in what we could do virtually.
Mm-hmm. And I think that really hit. I'm amazed the amount of work that's done in our community through nonprofits. And yeah, it really has caused all of us to say, we have the essence of a mission and we still have to pull it off. Because on March 12th, you may have been shut down to do what you normally do, but the cranes over the new building were still moving, weren't they?
They certainly were.
That is a huge building. What's going to go on in there?
Well, we're very excited about it. It's bittersweet in that it's so sorely needed, but we're very excited that it is going ahead and it will be completed in April of 2022. And that will be the new CHKD Mental Health Hospital. There are few in the US that will have the standards and the capabilities and the people, the staff, the expertise to work with is phenomenal. It's a 60-bed hospital that will encompass many other clinics, offices, and other things that CHKD needs, but those 60 beds will be for children with mental health issues that need our help.
Boy, and if any time it's showing its ugly head is today's world.
It really is. You know, I mean, currently before March 12th, we have about 70 to 100,000 children in Hampton Roads that will have a mental health issue. That was before March 12th.
Wow. And now what is a child? What's the age limit?
A child is 0 to 21, but there are exceptions on the 21 end depending on what is going on with that child.
Now, I'm the very proud, which anybody who knows me knows, of two daughters who are now in their 30s. But about 15 years ago, I wasn't quite sure when they were going through adolescence. So that's a time period that's really fragile. And so you shake things up. I'm glad they're in their 30s.
You know, 18% of high school students considered suicide last year.
That was before COVID.
Correct.
Wow.
And so it's, again, on the plus side, it is exciting because this new hospital has been based off of the best that some of these other mental health hospitals have to offer within the US and beyond. So this will be one of the best. It will employ between 300 and 400 people, and we've already started to welcome some new psychiatrists and psychologists that really, I'm imagining, are chomping at the bit to be a part of this, because it will be, as I say, one of the best and the best help, that the best chance of hope for so many children and families.
So here you have a huge opportunity. We talk a lot in Prime Plus about new beginnings, and you really are opening the door for new beginnings for families with children with mental health issues. And your decades-old style of doing fundraising has come to a screeching halt. So what are you going to do?
Well, you know, first we sat around and made a whole bunch of masks because the hospital actually came to us and said, we need your help. We need to make more masks for our medical staff. And they had special material that we were able to use to make those because of the shortage of PPE at that time. We're fine with that now, but we stepped up and helped with that. And then everybody that came into CHKD, and still today this is true, that they are screened and their temperature checks and the mask must be worn. So we stepped up and helped with the masks for that as well. So there's still circles making masks when they would have originally made the surgery bears, but of course the surgery numbers went down for a while. So I think that was the first way.
Yes, they're calling that pivoting, I guess. You pivoted.
That's the, yes. We've
Okay.
got new vocabulary, unprecedented, pivoting, what else?
I know. Okay. A few years ago, when I was doing Norfolk Perspectives, I scheduled you for your normal, your annual appearance to talk about the holidays. And this is after you went to an empty floor. You were always on the cutting edge of doing something brand new. You remember that year where you did it in the empty floor?
That was
We won't
awesome.
talk about that. But so you came to me and said, we're not going to do that anymore. We've been doing it for 30 years. I can't say it like you did. We're going to pivot and change. So
Right.
What are you doing this year for the holidays? You
Well,
went to a very successful new event.
Right. This year is different to usual years in that we did change what we were doing because we had to be fiscally responsible with the events that we were putting on, because it is to raise funds and friends. But also, you have to be mindful of what works in your community and in your market. And there were a lot of other fundraisers going on at the time. So that's also good, because you're competing somewhat, but you learn more about what works and doesn't. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to today, we don't have our Holly Festival of Trees anymore. We usually have our Breakfast with Santa. We have canceled that for this year to keep everybody safe, but we are having what we call
including Santa.
Event. What's that?
Including Santa.
Santa as well. We use Busch Gardens for Santa, and so that was already a sticky wicket because they were not able to communicate with us after a certain point because of them being furloughed. So we shelved that for this year, and hopefully we'll be able to build some excitement to return next year. So we have other circle events doing creative ideas where they're selling, believe it or not, little tiny trees and things that have gifts with them to help with the holiday season shopping. But also we have what we call a non-event. So basically you're not invited. You're not invited to attend. You're not invited to get your tux. You're not invited to get your babysitter. We're simply asking you to donate, sponsor, buy tickets, take part in our silent auction, but stay home.
Stay home?
So that's working well.
So I don't have to, pants are optional.
Well, we won't get into that.
Okay.
But, we have to keep going because we have to continue to make the funds to support the hospital.
Yeah, they've got the glass on that building. I mean, it's exciting things happening in the middle of it. And I went to Walmart the other day, and there was an incubator with some dollar bills in it. So you still got the containers around the region in that too, right?
Oh yes, that's awesome. Anytime people can get a visual, it's pulling at the heartstrings. They're being reminded that we're still here. We still need the help. And those tiny babies certainly need the help too.
So if I want to be uninvited, how do I find out about this non-event?
Oh, Bob, you're always uninvited.
I'm getting that message.
kingsdaughters.org. You'll see the Moonlight and Mistletoe event right on the homepage.
So when's it going to occur? Not occur. You have me confused.
It will not occur on December 5, but we're going to have a silent auction for about 2 weeks leading up to that. So You'll be getting all sorts of emails from me soon. Cool.
Well, I have about a minute left for you to bring it home for the kids.
So
yeah.
I just want to thank you, Bob, for letting me be a part of your world for today for a few minutes, and to thank the community for still thinking of us, still donating and sponsoring and going online and seeing how else you can help creatively, and just to keep that momentum going to help support children. We're all here to help our future, and that is the children. So that's why we're here.
Thanks, Lisa. It has always been my pleasure to work with you and in doing what's good for the kids, because what you do for the kids, we can do for seniors too. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Appreciate it. Remember, stay safe, but stay connected. Thanks a lot.